And that wraps up our latest yoga session class. Thank you for joining us, and let's go ahead and get started. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to Caliber Corner Season 5, episode number 269. This is kind of our annual military surplus firearms chat that we have, where we sit around and just complain about the prices of firearms and how we wish we would have bought that case of Nagant rifles back in the day, and we missed out on that opportunity. Actually, no, I'm just kidding. There's a lot of options these days to get current production milsurp replicas and firearms, and it's almost to the point where a person can pick up, the reproduction for the same price or less than an original. And there's a lot of things you got to weigh if you want to go original versus new. And I really do think that after seeing what's been presented at, SHOT Show this year, I really do think that the historic reproduction firearm is going to make a big comeback in 2023. One of those reasons is because there's going to be offerings for you that have never been offered before as a reproduction firearm. And two, just with the prices of a lot of these firearms, milsurps, you could basically get the same thing new for less. So why not just go new? So I think we're going to really start to see that kind of happen this year. And not only that, but it's kind of an area that's not really being marketed to yet as a gun consumer. And so for me, if I could get a new M1 or get a new Mauser or whatever, I'm just saying that I might just buy it because looking at the used market, I might be taking a chance if I buy something used or surplus. So anyway, that's going to be the discussion for today. Don't know how much time it's going to take us, but I've got some tabs open where we can take a look at what some of the options are that are out there and what's coming out. I think a lot of people saw what the STG 44s that Palmetto State's eventually going to get out on the market in multiple calibers. And again, just kind of check out and see what we got. So before we do that, let's go ahead and let the panel introduce themselves. First up, we've got Squibload. Squib, how's it going? I see you've got a nice little milsurp in your hands in that thumbnail there.
Yeah, it's one I've been doing a few clips of videos on, but I haven't quite made a complete video. Part of the reason is I actually need to clear out enough space to put it on a table, and the other part of the reason is just focusing on other things. But eventually, I'd like to do a short series on at least one milsurp. It's kind of some people are really interested in it, especially if they go see like a war movie or something like that, and other people don't see any reason to have a milsurp at all. It's not for everybody, and there are lots of people who own milsurps that don't care about the history of them, and I'm not one of those. So I probably bring a perspective that's unpopular to the show.
Well, a lot of people bought it because, hey, it's a cheap bolt action rifle. I can use it as a deer gun or for $100. Yeah, I'll get it. Well, ammo's right there. Ammo's plentiful and cheap. Well, those days are kind of gone now, and if you want, you want to go entry level, we're talking $200 Carcano and ammo at, $25 a box, so it's one of those things where I think a lot of people might have bought them just because they were curious about them or because they were cheap, or why not? I'll take $125 SKS, sure. Let's just take a couple of them home from the gun show, who cares? Trash rod, right? They'll never go up in value. All right. And also joining us, we've got Single Shot. Single Shot, how you doing, man?
Doing well, my friend. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah.
Just headed out towards my next round here down to Muncie, down through 495 here in Massachusetts right now. So.
Okay.
But been really, really busy at the house. We got a new internet provider service
good.
installed into the house. I've got a lot better internet and a lot better signals. I got a Wi-Fi booster that boosts the Wi-Fi through the house.
Yeah, we got Wi-Fi last week in Nebraska. It's cool. You can walk around and stay connected to the internet. There's no dial-up anymore. There's no little chimey noise. So Single Shot, does that mean there's going to be some live streaming in your future now that you're retired and you've got all the free time?
Well, live stream, I'm going to have to get a computer for, because I don't have enough subs to facilitate them allowing me to live stream. I need 1,000 subs, and I've only got about 250 now, so I got a long ways to go there.
Okay. But, well, I think can't you live stream? Do you have to have 1,000 subs to live stream at home? I thought you could do it anytime. Oh, maybe you do have to have 1,000. I thought that was just if you wanted to monetize, or mobile live stream. I thought you had to have 1,000.
Yeah, mobile live stream. They won't let me do. Okay. They won't let me do it at all. And I've got to work on getting a little bit better audio setup as well. For some reason, these headsets won't tie to Rumble. that's on the Daywolf channel there. It has to run off the audio that's from the equipment that I'm using at the time. So I'm trying to figure that mess out. And changed a lot of lighting downstairs in the shop, down cellar, so I get a lot more lighting there. And have a security system that is now active.
Good for you, man.
Kind
of taking care of yourself and kind of locking things down. Yeah.
Yeah, and putting up with the off and on mix of mess that we've been getting here the last few storms.
Yeah.
Got about 2 inches up there the last time. I had to get that cleaned up. So. Weird winter for sure. Hopefully we'll have a chance to get things settled down here pretty soon.
Yeah, we're going to get a tease this spring out here in Nebraska, then a dose of winter midweek. So, God, I just want to go out to the range and shoot so bad. I just want to have a nice, warm, toasty day at the range. And I don't know. I think I'm just going to have to go out there and just deal with it. So, yep.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, good to have you here. I'm glad you're back. It's good to have you with us every week, and I think it's going to be a good discussion. Kevin June with the mic drop of the morning, comment of the morning. Remember when Mosin the guns were $99 at Big Five? I should have bought more. Dude, every time I think about first getting into firearms and seeing the racks of Mosins at Cabela's for $125, man. Oh, God. But like I said, we'll take a look at modern prices and then just also take a look at some of these reproduction firearms and see if there's really any advantage to going mil-surp aside from maybe actual heritage, possible battle use, collectability, and value. It really depends on why you get into mil-surp. Before we do that, let's give a shout out on the YouTube side. We got Ozzy Orsborn out there. We got Tacos and French Fries. We got Squiblift over there. That's Squibload's doppelganger. We got Kevin June with us this morning. We got New York Outcast in the house. Kirsten the 740. Hello, sir. We got Faride out there. We've got, let's see who's joining us. Am I missing anybody? DJ Play Nice is in the house. Another fellow Nebraskan. Bjorn is out there today, too. Oh, Kingpin's trying to join in here. We'll get him here in just a little bit. Let's see what else we got going. There's Kingpin in his house. We've got Zinger out there. We've got, is that about everybody? Mount View's joining us also, so I think it's going to be a good morning. Kingpin, welcome. Good morning. How are you doing, good sir?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So real quick, Kingpin, what's kind of your take on the whole mil-surp market? Is this something we're jumping into if somebody's new to the gun world, or is it just maybe a hard pass?
Well, when I saw that you posted this video a couple of days ago, like the topic for it, I was really excited because it's going to give me a chance to really shine and show you guys just how expansive my knowledge is on mil-surps and all things related.
Dude, it's okay, man. Like I said, all I did was just a Google search on mil-surp rifles for sale, and then you compare those prices with like over at Gunbroker, and that kind of shows you what you should be paying, and then you compare it to your local gun shows versus what you don't want to be paying, and then we'll go from there. A couple announcements to make real quick here. Thunder on the Prairie 2023 is going to happen soon. Defense Data and I are going to get our poop in a group, and we're going to get something posted about that out there that you can look up and find. I believe the listing may be over at the Nebraska Shooters website. So that's the little YouTuber range day event that we're going to have. You don't have to be a YouTuber, gun tuber to attend if you don't want to, but it's going to be open to people, give them an opportunity to shoot a lot of guns, do some filming in a safe environment at the gun range, and kind of get together and bond and have a good time like we did last year. We've already got sponsors on board, which is cool. I know that Defense Dad is talking to Monster Tactical again. We have Blackout Coffee Company on board. They confirmed that they're going to support us. They'll be the official coffee of the event, and they're going to send us all kinds of goodies for the attendees. We've also got Cleanse Oil is sending us all kinds of products to let people have and try and test out. I've contacted Bear Creek Arsenal. They're talking to their promotions people, so hopefully we can get a couple more uppers this year. And I think it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to reach out and just try to get a hold of some other sponsors and maybe shoot local and see if I can get a few local sponsors to join in too. It's kind of interesting because the local sponsors, they're not, some of these are gun associated industries, but they don't really know much about what's on the internet side of guns and YouTube. And so we mentioned the event and they're like, okay, so what is it exactly? So, I mean, there's just a whole nother sect of people that don't quite get what it is, what we do. So we're working with them. Also, this week, I think Defense Dad and I are going to draw the winning logo for Thunder on the Prairie 2023. And we've got a lot of really cool entries. Well, we have 4, okay, and they're all awesome. And I think they're all going to get something. And then the winner's going to get a cool grand prize that I'm going to send to you also. We're going to use that, make some stickers out of it, get some T-shirts made up, maybe put the design up on Spreadshirts so you guys can get shirts for it if you want to. By the way, on my Spreadshirts, if you buy a shirt from me on YouTube, I think I make $1 off of it, maybe $2. So I'm not running high on the hog or anything with those shirts that are sold online. In fact, I keep the prices low because I make less. A lot of people, they're selling those shirts for $30 on YouTube, $35. I'm making 10 to 15 a t-shirt. So I am at the like lowest level I can make and actually make $1 from it. So that's pretty much what, that's before taxes, by the way. So anyway, that's going to be coming up for Thunder on the Prairie. I did purchase 2 guns. And since you guys are watching today, I'm going to give you just kind of an early announcement about it. I dug deep into my pocketbook and I bought a High Point JXP-10 from Sportsman's Warehouse, I think, located out in Grand Island, Nebraska. It's cool they put one there because that's just the middle of Nebraska, middle of nowhere. And they've got this cool, sporting goods store that has a lot of firearms, really good prices. I'm going to go out there and pick it up at some point this week or next weekend and go get it. It was pretty inexpensive, and I got lucky to get one. Shout out to Defense Dad who actually found it for me over online, because I've been doing Google searches and I couldn't find anything locally. They're sold out everywhere. So we've got a cheap 10mm that's going to come to the channel. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I went ahead and did a bucket list purchase. Last night, I managed to snag a Tiger Stripe Beretta A300 Patrol, which they were for sale for 1 hour at Frontier Justice, and I managed to get one. And that's going to be coming from their, I think it's like Summit, Missouri or Summit Lee, Missouri store. It's going to be shipped to the Omaha store. And so that's going to be showing up. So you guys are going to see the A300 Patrol as a cleaning video, as a range test. We're going to run all kinds of ammo through it. I've always wanted a good like tactical shotgun, and I've got that Chinese, AK-47 12 gauge that I love. That's fun to shoot, but to have something that's, like a nice solid grade weapon with the sweet Tiger Stripe finish, which is a limited run, I had to do it. I had to go for the purchase. So the last thing I want to add to my list this year is going to be a new Marlin 336 like the rest of the country. And then after that, I can finally stop happy for a little while. So that's pretty much what's going on. So I'm excited for the 10mm. In fact, I was buying ammo for the JXP-10 before I even had the gun. I had 3 boxes of ammunition before I bought the gun. So I've got 3 different brands of 10mm to run through and see if it has any issues. Maybe we'll get some defensive grade stuff out there too, maybe some critical defense, and see how that cycles through it. But, for, just a couple $100 out the door, man, it's really hard to beat that. So, all right. So anyway.
Get over there. You get over there in Grand Island, you're going to have to swing into Hornady Bullets, check that place out.
Oh, I've been there before. Yeah, Hornady's awesome, man. I wish I could get a factory tour, but yeah, they got an awesome store. Yeah, for anybody that doesn't know, Nebraska is basically the what do you want to call it? The triangle of fire of ammunition production. We've got Meade Ammo, which is located out in Wood River, which makes most of the machines that make the ammo that you buy, and they make their own ammo. We've got Hornady located there. It's a little hamlet of ammunition production that a lot of people don't realize is out there. So today's topic. Yeah, go ahead, Single Shot. Yeah. You'll have
to say hello to Steve and Betty for me.
Steve and Betty. All right, I'll stop in there and say hello. Hey, I'll have to tell them that Single Shot. I don't want to announce your real name online, but hey, Single Shot says hello. So yeah. Sponsorship? No. So here's the inspiration for today's show. I'm just looking at military surplus prices, and in a way, I'm kind of sad that I didn't jump on this years and years ago when I first started getting into firearms, or really jumped off on my channel, because the prices were just awesome back then. And I mean, I could have been buying these surplus guns for the price that I was paying for new guns, right? I did a video 6 years ago, and I've mentioned this before. It's called "The Mosin Nagant as an Investment Piece." It's got about 175 views on it. Not a popular video at all. Didn't get good feedback from people. I got everything from, yeah, I'd never give you $189 for that numbers matching hex trash rod, to, hey, that's a good deal. I'm going to pick one up. Thanks for letting me know. So I was looking at the prices of Mosins, and it was kind of a joke that tied in with Never Enough Ammo's show that we had back in the day. It's Mosin prices continue to rise. And so now we don't have to pay $189, for a non-numbers matching Mosin. We get to pay $500 for a non-numbers matching Mosin Nagant online before shipping and before transfer fee. So it's like, what's the point anymore? And I'm surprised that we don't have more companies jumping on the bandwagon and just making new production Mosin Nagants and new production, Schmidt-Rubens and new production Mausers, right? So Squibload, I got a question for you. Hey, are you with the Squib? You good?
I am, and I think I know what the question is.
Okay, is it possible that somebody could make a new production? Do we have the capability in this country to make new production military surplus rifles like the Mosin Nagant that would be comparable to a vintage Mosin Nagant and still sell it at $500 or $600? Is that possible? Can companies do that?
being in manufacturing with an R&D background, yes, you could replicate these guns to make them to that standard or better and 100% interchangeable with an original gun and do it for a price that would be what most people would consider fair. You could recoup your costs in a matter of years as far as tooling and that sort of thing if you sold the firearms at a price where you couldn't make them as fast as people were buying them. Additionally, if your parts are 100% interchangeable, you could sell replacement parts. So now you've got a broken whatever on your old gun. Here's a brand new because you either can't find it or they're selling it on eBay for
eBay and it's used
price.
or it's a questionable surplus piece that you don't know if you should really buy, like a firing pin. Hope to God it's not some reproduction that's going to shatter the first time I use it,
Now you literally just put it on a device that is pretty common in manufacturing and research and development that actually maps it out, makes a 3D image of it, and then you can load that into a production CNC machine, and this thing just cranks them out. You could literally take each part of the gun, replicate it, and have the data. Hell, you could be the company that just takes apart a bunch of these guns and makes the data and sells it to manufacturers, right?
So there are no patent rights on these guns anymore, right? I mean, anybody can take them and make. There's no.
They were either made by a defunct foreign country. They're no longer. Who's going to sue you? The Empire of Japan. They don't exist anymore, right? Or they were made. They were made with our tax dollars, designed with our tax dollars before any of us were born, maybe even before our parents were born, those sorts of things. So any sort of patent right or anything else is long expired. The other thing about it is that, you'll hear them say, well, we don't know what material they made these out of because the records were lost to history. You can literally sacrifice something, a broken gun or something like that, and do an inspection of it and figure out the composition of the metal if you want to make it 100%. But you could make a MEM part, and I know some people don't like MEM parts, but you could make a MEM part that would be just as strong, if not stronger, and drop right into an existing gun.
With modern metals and treatments and coatings. I mean, you could get something that could be 99% like the original. And now, granted, there could be like some features that it couldn't have, like say full auto,
Right.
So it is possible. It can have, and I mean, you might say, well, I really think there'd be, and maybe you wouldn't want the Mosin, but maybe you'd want like a Mauser reproduction or an Argentine Mauser for $399, $499 when they're selling for double. If you could sell them for half the price of a surplus, I think you would have a constant buyer. And I'm surprised that more gun companies haven't jumped on the bandwagon because and it's a good problem to have. But right now in the market, there's so many ARs, there's so many AKs, there's so many handgun choices out there that to come out on top, you almost have to have kind of a niche offering if you really want to go after that buyer. And there's a lot of people like me that, missed out on that opportunity. I'd love to get something like that. So if they could offer it at a good price, like a reproduction, and we're starting to see that now, like DS Arms is making an FAL reproduction. Like I said, PSA, I guarantee those STG 44s are going to be sold out forever. They're going to sell like hotcakes, $1,500. People don't care. They want an STG 44, and that's the closest thing they're ever going to get. Wait, you're doing it in 300 blackout? Hey, here's my wallet. Okay. So I'm just saying that I think that this is going to be the year that it's really going to happen. I think PSA is really making that happen too. Now, there's companies like Fulton Armory that have been doing this for years that I think a lot of people don't even realize are out there. You don't have to go milsurp if you don't want to. So Squib, what would you say about what's out there right now, like DS Arms and Fulton Armory and stuff like that? What do you think? Is that worth it? Is it worth it to spend $200 to $300 more than a comparable milsurp gun that's identical? Well, what would you say?
You might spend $200 or $300 more, or you might spend even more than that. It really
depends what you want for trim, how you want to trim.
Right. I mean, you could get something that's beat up and built, repair it yourself or restore it yourself or that sort of thing. Here's the thing. If you're into these things, if you really like them, or you want a brand spanking new one, you don't want one that's old and beat up, then it's good to have those options. But you're going to pay a lot because, one, they know you're going to pay. And two, they're going to use lies to justify the cost. Oh, well, the R&D, what R&D? The R&D was paid for with our grandparents, our great-grandparents. Yeah. Okay, it was designed in 1936. It's been out there forever. There's no patent on it. There is no R&D. You H-pointed it, big deal. How much did that cost you? A couple $1,000s, you know? And companies that do that are a dime a dozen. So there's a lie. Or, well, the tooling and machining doesn't exist anymore. So nowadays you can do so many things with
CNC will cut you anything
if they
you
had
want,
CNC,
you know?
if they had CNC in the 1940s,
Yeah.
imagine how fast we would have ramped up our production for the wartime effort.
And there's always a company that will make you a barrel. There's always a company, Meat Arms, or Meat Ammo, that will make you the machines to make the ammo for it. So you could make the ammo if you wanted to and sell it for $30 a box. You know, if the ammo's out of production, you can get that going if you want to. You know,
the worst excuse, the worst lie I heard was from Hill and Mac. We don't have enough parts of an original STG-44 that we can do metallurgy tests on to figure out what this is made out of. Okay, stop right there. First off, you're telling me you're making a reproduction and you don't have an original STG on hand
to make it from, right? To go from.
Well, it's $300,000. So what? You're going to be making a fortune off of these things.
You'll make that off the first 300 that you sell.
They made them after the war, and they didn't just make them in Germany. So there are 1950s equivalents that are going to have metallurgy that can withstand the pressures and everything else. You can get those much cheaper. And if you want to sacrifice one of those because its collector value isn't as much, although it does have collector value, once again, it's still a write-off. But if you make it to a modern standard, you're going to chamber this thing in 300 blackout, then just take a gun that's chambered in 300 blackout, and there's your starting point. So it's a lie when they tell you, well, it's taking longer than we thought, or, well, we've got to charge more than we originally said. It's a lie. What it is, well, we got to cover hookers, blow, and gambling debts. So, I mean, really, don't believe this. As somebody who's in manufacturing and somebody who's in R&D, with an industry that's been around not as long as firearms, I am telling you, it is not difficult to replicate this stuff. And if you're smart with your marketing, you'll sell the ammo, or you'll partner with an ammo company to have the exclusive rights to the ammo. You'll sell parts. They'll complain that, well, for every part that we put on for sale, we've got to have another SKU number and warehouse space and pay taxes on this.
So don't even tease us. Don't even get into this industry if you're not going to go that, you know?
And if you look at some of these imported replicas that aren't exact copies, the only parts you can buy for them are magazines. So if you have a spring break, you're going to have somebody make a spring or buy a whole nother gun or go on eBay and hope somebody's got one. And that's something I don't agree with. If you're going to make these reproduction guns, sell the parts for them. Don't give me this BS excuse. You know, in the back of the manual, it's got the parts diagram, but you email the company and they don't return your emails because, oh, well, we don't keep those on the shelf.
We don't make safety levers.
You know? We'd have to have 150 extra numbers in our inventory for that. You know, then why are you selling it? And don't tell me, with all the AR-15 parts that are out there and all the aftermarket, don't tell me you can't. It's a lie.
There you go. So there you go, people. That's it. So if you're going to get one, you know, be prepared to pay, but there's a lot of caveats that come with it. So Kingpin, what's your thoughts on this passionate, emotional argument we have going on this morning? What do you think, Kingpin? Would you ever consider just buying something Milsurp just to have it for kind of the historical provenance, or would you maybe go with like a newer version of that gun, like a modern production version of that gun? Because I'm thinking like Browning High Power, for instance. We can get a good replica Browning High Power for about half the price of an actual Browning High Power, FN High Power. So Kingpin, what do you think about this?
No. I wouldn't. I'm not interested in a Mosin or a Garand or nothing like that. If I were to come across somebody had a Garand or a Mosin or, you know, one of these STGs or whatever you guys are talking about, and was like, hey Dave, I got a gun for sale. You're interested in it? Then I might purchase it just to do. But if Mosin came out and said, hey, we've got 2023 Mosins for sale at your local gun store now, I'd be like, good for you. I don't care.
Yeah, Mosin.com is probably not even taken. Somebody could probably start that up as a starter of company and just trademark the name because it's named after people. You know, yeah.
I think it's a really interesting category of, you know, firearms collection and firearms interest. I love hearing people talk about the old stuff and how it was made and how they used it and all that other kind of cool stuff. It's just for me, myself, it's not really my thing. So I don't really care either way. One of the things I did want to touch on is Squib is correct. when it comes to manufactured products. And when I say products, I mean from the very conception all the way to stocked on Walmart shelves. There's so many different levels of corruption that you're never going to get. A Mosin Nagant in the real world, especially as technologically advanced as we are today, you could sell them for $200 and have factories pumping them out faster than you could sell them. But you got 10 million levels of corruption when it comes to every dollar that gets spent. That's why everything's so expensive. That's why, like Squib says, people make excuses for not wanting to do this and do that because they're penny pinching. That's all. Nobody wants to spend money. Rich people don't want to spend money. Poor people don't want to spend money. So they make all kinds of excuses not to. And then, government corruption. But I think if there's a demand for new production mil surps, I think, gun manufacturers would be foolish not to at least dip their toes in and find out what happens.
I mean, I'm thinking like Brownell's making those old AR rifles or M16 style rifles, like the A1s or whatnot. They were doing kind of their vintage series, and those sold out the first day. So, I mean, there is a demand for this stuff. People want the PSA is leading it. PSA is leading the charge because they've got the money and they've got the manufacturing know-how and the distribution. And they know they're going to sell because people are curious.
There's a lot of different levels to that, like you guys talked about. Squib may have an old milsurp gun that his son is like, man, I really love that thing, but I don't want to destroy it. I want to hold it because it's my dad's rifle, keep it as a family keepsake. But I can go down to the gun store and buy an exact copy of that brand new and love to do it. So I don't think that they would really have a problem selling new production models.
And if they want to sell it, all they have to do is rechamber it in 5.7 and then it's going to sell.
Well, also the thing too, if you've got a 1919 Mosin Nagant, it's only going to get older, and it's only going to get more and more delicate, I guess you could say. So 30 years from now, you're not going to go to the range and put 50 rounds to it. 50 years from now, you're not going to want to go to the range and put 100 rounds to it because it's a collector's piece. So having the one right beside it that you can dump 100 rounds every time you go to the range and not have to worry about would probably be pretty fun.
Ammo could be the only thing with the Mosin, since we're not getting the Russian imported ammo. We'd have to find. PPU there's a lot of companies that make 7.62 by 54, but it'd be nice if we could get a manufacturer. That's where I also see PSA kind of coming in doing new production and or PPU or these other companies, Cellular and below, offering these more unique European calibers like the Schmidt-Rubin caliber, like the 7.5, whatever. Backwoods 1010. By the way, Backwoods 1010, I appreciate your comment that you told me. I didn't realize anybody ever actually watched the video. He said that he had watched my video on the Mosin Nagant as a potential investment piece. And he goes, I bought a Mosin pre-35 with a hex receiver, which is like $600 now. A Mosin sniper, a Mitchell's Mauser certified Mosin sniper, numbers matching is $2,500. You can spend up to $4,000 on an authentic Mosin sniper rifle when they were $700 maybe less than 10 years ago. So, I'm just saying that. And Kingpin, you make a really good point, though. If you want a shooter, like my Mosin is going to be 100 years old. It's either a 1925 or 1927. I can't remember. I think it was last year that they made the hexes. It's a 1920s production, so it's going to be 100 years old. That gun's going to be 100 years old in just like 2 or 3 years, and that's it. And I still shoot it. I probably shouldn't. I don't shoot a lot. Just because, I've got plenty of 7.62 by 54, but it's just I don't know. I do want to keep it. I don't want to wear it out. It hasn't been counterboard yet. It has been arsenal refinished sort of, but not counterboard. So it's still very original. It is a hex receiver, but it's still solid. But yeah, I'm not going to want to keep putting rounds through and wear it out and possibly blow it up, But so I want to keep that preserved because as an investment piece, and I want to pass this on to another family member so that their kids can enjoy it and take it out once in a while and have fun with it. So I do see that. Hey, Single Shot, you with me, bud?
Oh yeah, right here.
So what's your take on this discussion? Do you think that we should have more historical reproduction firearms out there in the market, especially rifles for people to choose from, like Mosins and K31s and Mausers and stuff? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was a good idea for fellows that was mentioning the idea of having a new one available, to keep the value of the weapon that they have on hand. and keep its you know, its condition and value intact, because they always seem to be worth a whole lot more in that situation than if you take it out, like you said, you take it out there and fire a bunch of rounds through it and wear it out even more than what it is, you know.
Here's the other thing too: if you have an original and the new one's coming out, the new one's maybe a couple $100 more than the original. That's going to push up the price of the original, because that's going to say, well, that new one's worth that. That original's got to be worth that much minimum, you know. Man, imagine if somebody did modern production Lugers, you know, for $1,000. I mean, those would sell like hotcakes. The Browning high powers are basically pretty much sold out across the board. Now you can get the Springfield version, but I know like the TSOS versions always sell out, or the Kherson versions of it. You know, I mean,
and something about that, Travis, the original high powers haven't gone down in value.
No, and that's the other thing too. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a Military firearm ever go down in value. The Carcanos are double. They were $99 a year ago. Now they're $200 minimum to get into one. And here's the other thing too: you're not going to get the selection or the grade quality, even locally. You're not going to find what you could find 5 years ago, because the good ones have been snatched up and people are sitting on them. And what's out there is what people have either given up on or didn't want, or its numbers not matching, or it's a parts gun that was disassembled and reassembled at some arsenal. So I mean, it does really kind of make kind of an interesting discussion. Backwoods 1010 says, you and Hickok 45 are the reason why I bought my Taurus PT 111 G2. Dude, I love those guns. Our family still has them. I think we have 3 or 4 of them between various family members. I've got currently have a G3C, but I've had the G2C, the PT 111 G2, several PT 111 G2s, and I always seem to kind of keep going back to them. So Squib's probably got a couple of them floating around there. He's got a couple G2 somethings floating around. So
just not made any time to do anything with them.
No, question, guys. Doesn't somebody make the Tokarev pistol a modern? Can't you get a new?
Yes.
Doesn't Zastava make a modern Tokarev?
Zastava does. They have a couple of variations.
So they've 762 Toke or 9 millimeter?
They've got both. They've got So they've got the M70 AA, and that's in 9 millimeter. And then they've got the M57. You can buy them surplus, and you can buy new production. That's in 7.62 by 25. And they have the M88A, which is a subcompact or a compact version that was never actually, as far as I know, an actual real military or police gun, but they made a compact if you wanted, I guess, a carry gun or something like that.
And they do make, doesn't somebody make the Tokarev, doesn't like Spear or somebody make like S&B Cellular and Below makes a defensive grade Tokarev round?
Yes, and they also make FMJ. Winchester makes FMJ. PPU makes FMJ. It's easy to reload. It really is. People are like, oh, it's got a bottleneck. It's not hard to reload. And you can make your own defensive rounds. There are a few companies out there making different weight bullets for it. I will say that I have had some issues with hollow points. I'm sure if I polish the feed ramp, that would take care of the problem, but, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, here's your M57A as a new manufacturer, by the way. You can get this for $479. Now you can get yourself a surplus version, I believe, for a little bit less. Here's $439 for Romanian Tokarev.
But the mags on those two are not interchangeable.
Okay.
Okay, and so one's got a 9-round, one's new production with a 9-round mag, and the other one is surplus with an 8-round mag.
And this one has that abomination of a safety, right? That's something that they added to it for importation. So
they have to do that for importation. If you find one without a safety, it was a war bring back, World War II.
No, somebody carried them for a while, but they had the special trigger in them that had the dingus in it.
Yeah,
and if you could find an original trigger, what's that?
I wouldn't trust that. Also, in Canada, the ones that they imported, they didn't have to have the safety. So if there's some way you can get one across the border, because they don't need their guns anymore, then it won't have a safety. But if you see one at a show and it's advertised as like a Korean War bringback or a Vietnam War bringback, and they want a lot of money for it, if it's got a safety on it, there's your first red flag that it's not real.
Yeah, this one has a safety. Yeah. This is a different safety than what we saw before, right? Is this a factory safety? Now, this is apparently a surplus model. A Yugoslavian M57 surplus for $359.
Yes.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. This is a really good. Go ahead. This is a really good deal. So, would you say this is maybe a good starter for somebody that wants to pick up a nice surplus gun to kind of get into it a little bit and just kind of test the waters? What do you think?
Okay. No? So you're looking at the price of the gun. You're looking at the price of the gun. You're going, hey, that's fairly inexpensive. But as soon as you go to try to find a box of ammo and find out that you have to order it online because hardly any stores carry the ammo, and then when you look for it online, it's almost always out of stock. And then when it is in stock, it's $25 a box or more, $35 a box or more. And if you wanted to get it in defensive ammo, that's going to be even harder to find. If you reload, you can save some money, but that's kind of the downside is with some of these, and this was even back in the day too. You get the mil surp, right? And you think, oh well, you know, it's a cheap gun, must have cheap ammo, and then you find out the ammo isn't cheap. Or at the time they had surplus ammo, you get it and it's corrosive, so now you're constantly cleaning the gun. Or it's the ammo's available and cheap, and then 10 years later the ammo supply dries up and nobody makes the ammo for it.
And you don't reload, so you don't know what to do. You know. Let's just kind of take a look. Go ahead, guys. Go ahead, talk. Yeah.
I reload 7.62 by 25, and I also cast a bullet for that. And Starline has the brass available for that Tokarev. There is one thing that I've not tried, and that's an interchangeability with 30 Mauser. I don't know. They say that it's supposed to be pretty close to the same case, but I think it's a little bit shorter.
I don't use the case.
I wouldn't
use the bullet. Don't use the case, but you can use the bullet. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And take that bullet and reload it into a standard brass case. But it shoots well. I've had real good luck with that Tokarev that I have.
Cool, man. Yeah, just kind of glancing like, so what's out there? So question for you guys here. I don't know Garand prices at all. If you want an M1 Garand, you can go through the CMP, the Civilian Marksmanship Program, and get a rack grade for what, $800? Is that, am I like a field grade for $800? Is that what we're looking at for an M1 Garand? If you want one, that's one
option. Probably 8 or 9, but in order to get one from the CMP, you have to be part of an organization. The fastest, cheapest way to get in is to join the Grand Collectors Association or whatever it's called. Let me look at my magazine up here. What's it called?
I know for my range, if you join my range, they are CMP certified. So I just have to show certificate, just show that I have a range membership for my current range and I'm in if I want to order one.
If you don't have a range near you that is part of the CMP, and I don't know if, you know, and you might join the range, but then you've got to compete in a match maybe, or maybe you don't. But the Grand Collectors Association, you can look them up online, join it, pay an annual fee. Once you're in that, now that's the quickest, cheapest, easiest way to be able to buy from the CMP. You don't just call them up and say, hey, I want a gun, because that isn't going to work. And, you know, you got to fill out some stuff online. If you want to go to one of their stores, you have to schedule an appointment ahead of time. You don't just show up. I could literally I could be there in about 2 hours. But if I'd show up, they're not going to let me in. So that's something, because they've got 2 stores where you could actually physically go in. But it's not just go online, pull out your credit card, you got a gun. It ain't that easy, but it's not that difficult either. But with the CMP, you're going to get an entry-level Garand. You might have to do a little bit of work to it. They do sell parts and things like that as well. They get batches of them in. Over time, it's less and less and less. Back in the day, they were flooded with Garands. You could buy whatever you wanted. And these days, it's slim pickings.
Question for you guys here. Go ahead, David. Yep.
One of the things that people learn from history, anybody who's a collector that's not Looney Tunes. Like if you think collecting trash that you find on the street is going to be valuable someday, then you know you need other conversations. But whether it be baseball cards or cars, guns, shoes, if you're interested in collecting and you recognize something is collectible, then you should already know waiting 5 years to buy that thing is going to cost you 5 more years of collectability. Meaning, of course, it's going to be more expensive. So if you're sitting here listening to this and you're like, oh, I'd love to get an M1 Garand, but it's, you know, $900 right now when it was $200 2 years ago. If you wait 5 more years, this thing's going to be $5,000. And then you're going to be sitting online going, I can't believe they're $5,000. And then you're going to mortgage your house and go buy one. So,
put on your credit card.
Well, I'm just saying, giving people advice. If you're interested in whatever it is, anything that you're going to get into collecting, once you've recognized that you think it's collectible, you have to make a choice. Either jump in with both feet and go for it and hope you get return on your investment, or take the chance of, okay, this bottle cap never became collectible and now I've got 1,000,000 of them in my garage. If those bottle caps become collectible and you wait 5 more years, they're going to be 5 times more expensive. It never fails every time. I mean, Travis, you're an expert. You put out more videos, I think, than anybody about buy it now because it's going to be expensive. And then you put out the new video and you say, I told you so. Look how much more expensive it is.
Can I give you a couple examples of that?
Do it. We're just here to have the discussion about surplus, man. That's what it's all about. I'm looking at this Moss 4956, right? Go ahead, Squid.
So I have some Finnish Nagants. Those are the Cadillacs of the Nagants. I paid $450 for each one of them. A year later, they were going for $900.
They still are.
Yeah. In a year. At the time I bought them, there were 9 semi-truckloads that came available. 9. And they were farming them out a little at a time every few weeks. So I bought some, then I turned around and bought some more. And that to me was something. It doubled in price, because now the semi-truckloads are gone. So now the ones that are out there are these people that are trying to flip them and sell them. Another example is my Martini Henry. My wife got that for me for $350.
I remember when they were $350 on Classic like 10 years ago, like when they first started, Yeah.
She got it for me. Yeah, it was a while back. And I want to say maybe like, oh man, I want to say like 2017 or something, but now it's $900 for that rifle. And that was another one where somebody would look at it and go, hey, it's $350 or it's $500 and it's an antique. And then you find out that you can't buy ammo for it. You have to make it. Do your research before you buy it. Even reproduction guns. My reproduction LeMat revolver was $495 in 2000 when I bought it. It's now $1,495, and they haven't made them in, I think, about 3 years, and I don't know if they're going to start making them again. So even a reproduction can go up in value depending on what it is. And I'm glad that, I got things like my M1 Garand or the 2 Mausers I have when I got them because of those prices. When those Carcanos came in a couple of years ago, I jumped
$79 for Carcano.
Not because I wanted a cheap shooter, but because I wanted to add a Carcano to my collection. And I learned from the past, when they get in a shipment of these things, that's when you buy. Because back in the day, you could wait years and years and years or decades because they were still there. But now
you always saw them at gun shows, and here's the thing: every time they bring it back in after 6 months, the prices go up $50 to $100 on them.
Yes,
I've seen it so many times.
Yes.
Classic Firearms, no offense, Classic, but they're notorious for raising that street price on. Every time they get them back in, they just slowly. If you go back and look at my older videos and I talk about some of these gun deals that are out there, you want to see the prices on some of these things, and whether they were like the Makarov pistols, or the Polish Radom or whatever, the P64 or whatever, they were like $179, now they're $349, $400. So yeah.
The replacement costs on these guns are fairly high over time. And if you're young now and you buy it, when you get to be old like me, you'll be thinking. To give you an example, there was a gun that I wanted that was $1,800. I didn't move on it fast enough because they had been available for 6 months to a year. When I went to go buy it, they had run out of stock. I contacted the company directly. Yep, they're out of stock. They're not making any more of these reproduction Milsurp guns. It's a reproduction. So I went on to Gunbroker, and there were a handful of these things brand new. They had just bought them the previous month when they were still in stock, and they wanted $4,400 for an $1,800 gun.
No.
3 weeks later, $4,400. That's crazy. But they knew that they were holding on to something. It's brand new in the box, right? It's brand new in the box, and they're not making these anymore. So in some ways, it's an investment, and in some ways, it's just saving yourself that expensive price tag later. So for the person who says don't put it on your credit card because you're going to pay interest, you will never pay more in interest than what the value of the gun goes up unless you sell the gun fairly soon. If you hold on to the gun for years and years or decades, you're always going to win. Or if you make minimum payments on that credit card for 30 years, yes, you're going to lose out. But you could pay that credit card off in a year, maybe even 2 years, and you're still making money after the interest. So it's a good investment. But if you're not into milsurps, or every gun you own you have to shoot or something like that, then milsurp isn't for you.
Hey, here's an example of what I'm talking about, guys. Like, here's a Hex 1933 9130, $649. It is numbers matching. It has not been counterbored. If I was going to get a Mosin, because this is exactly like what I have, but mine's a little bit older, I would just get one of these. But I mean, look, $649. You can't tell me that a company couldn't produce these now and sell them for that price or less. Again, imagine a $499 or $399 Mosin or whatever, or take that gun and then maybe just rechamber it for $308. And then, okay, so that's, you're saying, why would you ever do that? Because the ammo is cheap and plentiful. And you could have Mosin style and ergos. You could offer it in multiple calibers. It wouldn't be hard to do. You could have a slight variance in the bolt and the chamber, and you could offer it in 308. You could do a 6.5 Creedmoor. And I mean, and here's the thing, guys. Like, think about lever guns. They offer lever guns in almost every freaking caliber now. You can get a 6.5 Creedmoor lever gun. You can get, so that's just the thing is do it in some modern calibers. Let's get it out there. Especially for something like this that has a box magazine. It's not like you have to have detachable magazine restrictions or requirements. You could make that detachable, or you could make that box mag fit whatever caliber you wanted to. I mean, it would just be kind of cool if somebody would offer something like that, because I think it'd be a constant supply of revenue for you. So this is over at Axis Arms. Go ahead, guys. You can talk. I'm just scrolling. Go ahead.
Real quick on that. The standard size magazines for these types, they're like 5-round magazines, aren't they? 6-round magazines.
Yeah.
So pretty much every single state, even if you, like you were saying, if you put 50 BMG, you're only getting 5 rounds in a 50 BMG mag generally anyway, I would imagine. So, I mean, I don't know any, so don't fact check me on that. I'm just.
Or you get like 2 or 3 in a modern hunting rifle that's chambered in some like 458 SOCOM or 450.
Even if you got it in 223 and you got a 5-round magazine or a 10-round magazine, you wouldn't be like, oh, I need to go get a 30-round mag, because it would look stupid in that gun. It wouldn't be what is supposed to be there. So you could still make, legally capacitated magazines for all the commie states, and still, like you said, put it in a bunch of different calibers.
Oh man, definitely. And that's just the thing too, is the 50 state compatibility. That's a very good point. One thing to remember, guys, if you're going to get into milsurps after watching this video, don't buy something thinking it's going to be your daily shooter, or you're going to put lots and lots of rounds through it. You're going to want to be very careful with it, because you don't know about headspace. You don't know if the bolt was properly reassembled. Like on the Mosins, there's like a little factory etch mark on the back of the screw where you have to adjust the screw so that the firing pin doesn't protrude too far out the front of the bolt. And if you're not careful, if you don't, and you have a tool that you're supposed to use, you flip it and the firing pin pops out, you put the tool over the top of it. And I believe if the pin does not touch the top of the gap of that tool that's sitting over the top of the bolt face, that you are within specs, so you don't puncture primers. So you got to be very careful with these guns. You want to do some research, watch my cleaning videos on them, and we'll kind of show you some of the tools that we use and how we do this and safely operate them, or take it to a competent gunsmith and have it checked out before you shoot it. Because if you're going to shoot it, you don't want to blow it up. And you also have to watch out for the ammunition, because there might be a rechambering. Like, you might get this round now. Again, we talked about this a billion times. Like with the M1 Garand, if you don't have an adjustable gas tube on it, the possibility of running hot, modern hunting ammunition, 30-06 through an M1 or whatever, and potentially having issues, with bending the op rod and stuff like that. I don't want to argue that. I've heard both sides of the argument on a video I did years ago on ammo, like the American Eagle M1 Garand spec ammo. But the thing is, if you're going to get one as a shooter, it could be, so that's another argument for modern production gun, is it would be safer to shoot. Go ahead, Kingpin.
You kind of made a joke at the beginning, but your whole overall point is a very valid discussion, especially in the modern age where we have such expansive amounts of internet information right at the tip of our fingers, and not just from strangers. I mean, there's 50,000 people that watch you, Travis, that lean on you for a lot of good, solid firearms information. So don't be afraid to ask for advice. Like if I was going to buy a Milsurp rifle, I'd be blowing Squibby's cell phone up before I even touch the thing, because I know he's a friend of mine and I know he'll give me the honest truth about these guns. I bought a gun way back when. I even did a video about it, that I thought was an original 1964 rifle that had never been fired. The guy who sold it to me thought the same thing because it was given to him in some type of somebody died and just gave it to him. The internet looked at my video and said, "Hey, bud, not trying to burst your bubble, but that's a reproduction that was made in X amount of time." I messed up when I called in the serial number and forgot to give the entire serial number. So even the factory told me the wrong information.
Yeah.
When I actually looked up what the person that left a comment on my video said, I found out that the only thing about the gun that was reproduction was the bolt. Everything else was brand new. Even the bolt was made. It was like a 2010 or something like that thing was made. And I was able to take it back to the guy I bought it from and explain to him, and he gave me my money back because he didn't know either. But I jumped into something without asking for people's advice.
Here's one right here. You see this 1749 World War II, bring back German K98 Mauser rifle, 1940. And this is exactly what you're talking about, Kingpin. Look at this. I read the description. Very nice, all original K98 Mauser that was manufactured at Mauser, whatever, in 1940. And then it says, mechanically, the rifle works great. You're sitting there reading it. You got your credit card ready to go. It's all matching with the exception of the bolt, which is a good German wartime bolt. The rifle is not import marked and is most likely a World War II bringback. So you buy it, it looks legit. The serial numbers seem to be legit. Bolt doesn't necessarily match as being the original, which doesn't matter. It could have just been because the bolt could have had a defect or could have been worn out if it was actually a wartime rifle. But then I sell it to Kingpin for $27.49. Oh, this is a bring back 1940 rifle. It's not import marked. This thing got back here and now you can have it. And you're like, oh, I want it. And then you do your research. You're like, hey, there's no matching serial number on the bolt for the frame or the stock or for the receiver. Well, you know, so that's where you really got to be careful with. And so again, it's another argument for modern production of Milsurp rifles. You can get something that's going to be factory fresh, that's going to have warranty, it's going to be safe to shoot. You know that it's, but it doesn't, again, it doesn't have this historical significance that this possible wartime bring back is going to, unless you knew of a family member that actually brought it back and that's how you're selling it, in which case, shame on you, because you should not be selling a gun like that to anybody, because that's a historical relic that should stay in the family. But that's an argument for another episode. But yeah, this Axis Arms has some really interesting, and I'm not being promoted by any of these companies. I'm just saying they have some really interesting items, bayonets, different rifles, good selection of what look like clean guns, but you are going to pay a premium price for it. But you're also going to be going through a legit business and not a single seller like you would be if you go through, say, Gunbroker. Well, even then on Gunbroker, there's a lot of gun stores that sell, but I would rather maybe go from a company like this that's going to stand behind, you know, what they do. Obviously, look at their return policy. Okay, now we'll head over to what I consider at one point was the king of military surplus rifles for sale, which would be Classic Firearms. And even they're slim pickings anymore. I guess I didn't look at the pistols to see what's out there, but there isn't much. Man, they used to have Tokarev as you know, as far as the eye can see. So if we go under military surplus rifles, you can get your Carcano, good to very good, cracked stock for $199. See, there you go. Back in the day, you could get one that would have been immaculate for $100. Here's the Springfield 1903, $14.99. That was a $700 rifle 3 years ago. I don't know anything about this. The JRA Gallant rifle. Squib, can you tell me anything about this at all? Is this $8.99? Is this something worth investing in? Is this kind of like a, I don't know. Do you know anything about the Gallant?
The Gallant.
JRA Gallant rifle, Gen 2 5.56 NATO. It's under the Milsurp section.
The Gallant is a fine piece of machinery, but if you're going to jump into that, just go ahead and buy the Mitsubishi Diamante.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I don't know. The Gallant VR4 is bringing quite the price in the DSM circles there, Kingpin.
That looks like a Galil. So my guess is that it's their copy of a Galil. They have to call it a Gallant for whatever reason, and it's probably Galil-ish. But yeah, I don't know this particular firearm. I will tell you this: if you want it, buy it, because they'll stop making it and then it'll double in value in 3 years.
Yeah. Now it's James River Armory, and I have nothing against them. I've got their AMD 63 is what they called it, which was their stocked version of the AMD 65. I might have those two reversed. I can't remember at this point, but it was kind of they took the Hungarian parts kits and made them USA compliant, and mine's got a tack rail on. It's got a full-size stock and so on. Come on, Classic, a Tapco mag on a $900 gun. You guys can do better than that, unless there are no other magazine options for it. But wouldn't it just take a standard 5.56 mag? At least give it like a nice American-made steel. Well, okay, that is American-made, but at least a nice, steel magazine or something.
That's my Milsurp expertise right there. Thankfully, I met some military friends when I got into firearms, and they were gracious enough to supply me with stacks and stacks and stacks of GI mags. I will never use a plastic mag in anything AR related, period. GI mag all the way, or I don't want it.
See, and I'm a Magpul fanboy. I'm sorry, but Kingpin, you're right. I mean, I think they are probably going to be more. I've actually worn out PMags before. I've actually had them, the tabs, the tab catches on the side. I've actually worn them out before I had tons of mags. I'd use the same 3 or 4 on all my guns. It's like, I got 4 or 5 mags, Now I've got tons, but yeah.
What I noticed about that is that you have people that weren't into these guns, and they got into them after PMags not only were created but became mainstream. And the guns come with the PMags, and they think this is what these things originally had, and these are the best and all that. And PMags aren't bad at all. They're not. The military uses them today and that sort of thing. But I come from an older group that, we didn't have these plastic magazines. We would have never used these plastic magazines. And the aluminum mags have been around forever. The steel mags have been around forever. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? I did not use a plastic mag for the longest time. Then I finally got some, and I started buying different ones to compare them. I still like my aluminum. I don't like people calling them GI mags. They're just mags, but that's what people call them today to differentiate them, instead of going plastic mags, aluminum mags. But they're actually STANAG mags is the official term for them. Mm-hmm. Look up the acronym, what STANAG means. But they work, they run. Some work better than others. Some work better than others in certain guns. But, that's another thing, too. If you've got something that takes mags, how much are the mags for the thing? I can tell you that, if you think it's going to be $20 a mag for some of these surplus guns, and then you find out the replacement mags are $100 each, you might regret buying it.
Thomas Rees, look at this. Now I'm no marketing genius, but when Thomas says a K98 Mauser in 308 would be fun, LOL. Who wouldn't want that sweet Mauser action in 308, modern 308 ammo? I mean, look at that. There's the point right there. There's a potential customer right there. If you'd offer one Milsurp reproduction rifle in a variety of calibers, again, I really need to work in firearms marketing. I'm not being humble today, because I'm just like, dude, there's this passion out there for these firearms that people would buy. Hell, I'd buy a Mauser for $400 if it was chambered in 308, $500, right? Instead of taking chances on an $800 surplus that may be parts incomplete or have issues. So I would say if you're going to get something now, if you don't have a Milsurp and you want to get into one, the Mosins are always fun because parts are plentiful. There's lots of replacement parts out there. You can get stocks God, you couldn't give stocks away 10 years ago. Now they're $150, $200 for a stock. But there are aftermarket options if you want to do like a Sporter build, or you just want to drop it in an Archangel stock, or an ATI makes an inexpensive Monte Carlo stock for about $50, I think. I actually have one thanks to Kevin Jung. He sent me one that he camoed up and stuff, and that's I sporterized my Mosin just by putting it in the stock, but it didn't modify the gun at all. I still have my original beautiful stock for my Mosin just sitting in there, but I took it out and put that. I like that butt pad that's on the ATI stock for the Mosin. You can shoot it all day now. It's so comfortable and very accurate too. But if you're going to get anything, I would go with the Swiss Schmid Rubin. So let's talk about Sporterized real quick. Single Shot, you with this, bud? Are you back? Oh, Single Shot's not here. Dang it. He bought a Sporterized Schmid Rubin rifle, and he said the barrel hasn't been cut down. It just has a modified stock. And so he could get a replacement stock for it if he wanted to and bring it back to original. But yeah, I would go for one of these Schmid Rubins. The problem is what's over on Classic. They're all parts incomplete, or if you want a complete one, you're going to spend like upwards of $500. Now, these have always been, to me, they seem like they've either been right below or right at the same price as a Mosin Nagant. You can get the ammo for them also. I think we said PPU makes ammo for it. So it's something to consider also. So yeah, your Schmid Rubins, you have a lot of options for those. Those are going to go up in price. Those will be, let's just make a prediction. They're going to be $500 next year. I'm just going to throw it out there. Mark my words, that's what's going to happen to them, because I see the prices and how they go up. And I'm always checking them, and you just kind of see them incrementally go up over time. And then I always price match it with like Gun Broker, which is kind of that eBay of the gun world, where this is what something's going for. This is what people are well, advertising for, but not always willing to pay, So that's something that we're seeing there, but that's really about it. There's a finished M28 that you can get. I mean, they got for $6.99. I'm not sure about the condition of it. Some gunsmith specials, and then that's it. And this kind of shows you what Classic used to carry, but we're not going to scroll because it's just depressing because you can't get those anymore. Yeah, that Gallant rifle is a Galil that's been redone by James River Armory with an American barrel and 922R compliance and stuff. But we can still get Galils, right? I mean, you can still get modern Galils. So it's not like I would even want to consider going the vintage route when I can get a new one. So that's just something that's out there.
Look it up on Gunbroker. You might be surprised.
What's that? Oh, what a modern.
Yeah.
What a vintage Galil? Well, that's not even a vintage Galil. That's a it's been done over or modified or whatever by James River Armory. Yeah.
That goes back to what you're saying. Bring it into the affordable price range where you're not really worried about damaging or ruining the collector or the collector value of it. Sometimes when these guys make these reproductions, they cut corners, or in order to be 922R compliant, they do certain things to them. So it's pretty close. It's almost exactly like an original, or it weighs the same. It looks the same.
Same ergos, handling, manual. Yeah.
But there is something to be said about shooting an original gun versus the reproduction. I recently got to shoot some original 19th century handguns, and it was an experience. It actually made me rethink about whether or not I'd like to own one that I would actually shoot, which doesn't help for the value, but I'm considering it now.
I equate this to cars. Okay, you drive a modern sports car, a modern Camaro, right? Like I daily drove a '91 Mustang GT for 7 years. Okay, I had my Jeep. When the weather was nice, I wouldn't drive the Jeep. I drove a Mustang. There's a visceral connection you have with a vehicle that doesn't have traction control, that has this direct connection to the throttle, that doesn't have ABS, that doesn't have four-wheel disc brakes, that has a 5-speed with a heavy clutch. There's this experience you get from running these original machines that the new offerings does not equate to. So to have that, it's like when I take that Mosin out, just the weight of the trigger, the weight of the rifle, the steel butt plate, the shooting experience, having a Milsurp is something, and this is my Trap by Mind trick, having the Milsurp is an experience that's really hard to equate with anything else. It's just this awesome feeling that this is what it was like. Somebody had to bear this weapon in war. I couldn't imagine putting hundreds of rounds through a Mosin. I probably could if my life was on the line, but after 25 rounds, I'm like, oh, I got to go to Starbucks and get a mocha. My shoulder's tired, But having that and the wood and the finish on it. And then here's the cool thing too. I did have a really rough non-numbers matching Mosin that I bought for $200. And I did actually sell it to another member of our Gun Channel's family. Because I liked it. I thought maybe I'd make it a beater. It was made during wartime. My hex that was made in the 20s, beautiful bluing, wonderful casting. It's got the brass inserts on the stock. The 1944, it's like, stamp it. Okay, go to the front, son. I mean, it's like swirl marks all over it. I mean, it's got, and the bore is beautiful in that one that I sold. But like, the furniture's all beat up. It doesn't have the brass inserts in it because they didn't have time because the Nazis were invading Stalingrad or whatever. I mean, it was just like crazy, man. I mean, it was just thinking that that experience, I think, as a gun owner is what makes the Milsurp experience worth it. The ping of your M1 Grand flinging out the stripper clip out the top. I mean, that's something that's just, when I did my video, when I took it out, I had to manually do it just for the heck of it on camera. I'm like, listen, ping. And I caught it and like, oh, that is so awesome. And then taking it out and shooting it. So there's a joy that these guns can bring to you. And Squib, like you said, Squib, you tell me, how did that, you took out the 1851 original? Is that what it was? The black powder that I watched you shooting out in the desert?
That was one of them. That was one of them.
Okay, you shot that. So how was that different than something else that you fired before that's comparable to it? What was the difference? Was it the feel of the steel? Was it the weight? Was it the action just felt different? What was it?
Actually, it wasn't that one, but I'm glad I shot that one when I did, because it was, I actually compared your Reproduction 1851 to my Reproduction 1851 clone to an original Colt 1851 to, the video hasn't dropped yet, but to,
ooh, spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert, to an original Griswold and Gunnison. Entirely different feel, even though it's the same gun. It's literally a copy of an 1851 with a slight grip angle change and a slight change to the barrel. And if you blindfolded me, I wouldn't know that I was shooting it. And I'm kind of glad I got to shoot yours in 44 first, because this thing is, it's definitely different. So there is something to be said about some of these original guns and how they feel. Like on the Reproduction black powders, the modern ones are slightly bigger. Everything on it is slightly bigger than an original. I can tell you that shooting an original Dragoon and a Reproduction Dragoon side by side, they felt the same. And when the owner shot my Reproduction, and because he had been shooting his original, he said, yeah, they feel the same. So there are some things about them, but once again, going back to the Reproductions, you don't have to pay that price point, and you don't have to worry about damaging it, losing it, how much it would cost to insure it if it's a really expensive gun.
But like my Mustang that had the open exhaust and no catalytic converters, the smell, you don't get the smell from the modern firearms. You don't get that vintage wood smell, Sorry, I'm just living it up. I'm loving it, man. I'm loving this discussion. So tell me something, Squib. I've got a question for you. Okay, so Kingpin, what do you think? Are we making a solid argument for getting into the going with the original mil-spec route versus buying new? What do you think?
Well, I think I definitely agree, especially with the car analogy, because you could also, if you go out to your 2023 vehicle and close the door, you hear poop. When you go to your 1999 vehicle and close the door, you hear chunk.
Yeah.
And it gives you a feeling. The 64 Impala we had, when you would shut the door on that.
Yeah.
It was just an experience.
We had two.
Closing the door.
The metal dash, the vinyl seats, the arm cranks for the wing. I mean, it was just a whole different driving. I learned to drive on that, on a 4-door 64 Chevy Impala. My dad had a 2-door. My mom drove a 4-door when I was a kid.
So the absolute having an original firearm in your arms and experiencing it the way it was originally meant to be experienced, of course, the thing you guys give a lot of good advice about a car. You can buy a car, drive off the lot, and only change the oil and put gas in it. You don't have to have any bells and whistles whatsoever to own a vehicle. A cell phone. You can buy a cell phone, and only bells and whistles that you need with a cell phone is a power supply.
Say call and hang up.
Aside from the way the phone works, you need an extension, a cord to the wall so you can get power. With a firearm, you need, Squibby talks about it a lot, so do you. You need ammo. You need parts. You need magazines. You need a place to shoot. You need all these.
You got to keep it clean. You got to keep it clean, otherwise that corrosive surplus ammo is gonna rust it out.
So what we normally do when we buy a car is we buy every bell and whistle that's out there for it. Then we buy a cell phone and we buy every bell and whistle out there for it that you don't actually need to operate the thing. But then you go buy a gun and you're, oh my God, I can't believe I have to buy ammo for this. Oh my God, I can't believe I have to buy this. But oh my God, I can't believe I have to do this. Like, you're surprised. Why? It's just, it's like, I hear you guys talk about it a lot, and it seems like people just ignore what you're saying.
Well, like we said, it's not for everyone. It's just one of those things where it can be expensive. People are like, why would I spend that kind of money on that old junk? They don't get it because they've never tried it. I didn't really get pumped up about black powder shooting until Squib showed me how to do it. And I thought, man, this is freaking fun. This is awesome. This is like the smell of the gunpowder and, the single action and the possibility it's not going to shoot. It's like, man, I would not want to be in a gunfight 150 years ago or 100 years ago, or 150, 200 years ago, whatever. So, yeah. Squib, question for you. So I'm looking at these M1s over here, Fulton Armory. Squib, who's going to spend $2,400 on a Fulton Armory M1 service carbine? Why would you spend $2,400? What's an actual surplus M1 going to cost you these days?
Last time I priced one between 11 and 18, but I haven't priced one in a couple of years, so they might have gone up to this price. But I noticed that Inland in Ohio, they make one as well, all American made. As far as I know, it's completely interchangeable. And when I was shopping around for originals, the originals and the brand new ones were the same price. And the only appeal to me about getting the new one versus the original was that I wouldn't be doing any sort of damage to the value of the original. However, when it comes to things like M1 carbines and M1 Garands, there are only a handful of originals in the world. almost every one of them has been rebuilt at least once, if not multiple times, by the government. So if it doesn't have matching parts, but it's a 1944 Springfield, it's probably authentic. It's just the way it is. So if the only reason I would say to do this is because you don't want to ruin an original, even with mismatching parts, because it's been Arsenal refinished. It's still it's going to be worth more in the long run. Say, 20 years from now, that original,
it's going to be one of those auction discussions we have. Like, look, here's an unmodified original, numbers matching, non-Arsenal refinished M1, and it goes for like $10,000.
Right, a lot more than a regular. Yeah.
And
that's just it. Even that can be faked. I saw an M1C, which is a sniper variant, with the scope and everything, and it had matching numbers on the scope, the mount, and the gun, and it was like $3,800, and it had a letter of authenticity. All that could be faked and forged, and for that sort of price, it would be worth it to do it. That's another thing. It's a very difficult choice to make when somebody's selling you something that's, in air quotes, original, and they want a whole lot of money for it. That could be worth their time and labor to fake it, right? If they're selling you original and it's for a middle of the road price, or it's a little bit lower price, they're losing money faking it. So at that point, I tend to, judge that it might be more authentic than not.
So here's the problem I have is I just got done watching Enemy at the Gates last night, and I got to have myself a Mosin sniper rifle because they are epically awesome. They are minute of man accuracy at 1,000 yards. And so I jump over at Gunbroker, and here we go, man. $24.99 for the low price of a car down payment. I can have an original numbers matching 1944 sniper. Here's the problem with me. If that was legit, I would pay that because, one, I know it's going to go up in value. It's never going to go down in price. Two, that's basically the market price. I'm seeing them as high as $4,000 right now for an authentic Mosin sniper. And three, it's just cool. That's probably seen some actual battle use. 1944 legit sniper. And I know that there were lots of snipers in each of the battalions of the Russian army. It wasn't rare to have a sniper. I think each platoon had so many of them, men and women, that were snipers. In fact, one of the most noted snipers, I think, in Russian history was a female. And to have, a numbers matching scope with it. Now, this has the Mitchell's Mauser's leather of authenticity with it. You can tell by the numbering, though, and that could be fake, but generally the stamping and the numbering and will tell you, if it was legit or not. You can go over to 762x54r.net and you can type in your serial number, and you can type in the year it was produced and the brand and look at the stampings on it. You can find out basically where it was carried and when, and if it has any kind of special value to it. So I found out my Hex didn't, but it was probably not a wartime use rifle because it's so pristine, versus that 1944 that I bought, which probably saw some frontline use. That thing probably had some friggin' Russian DNA on it somewhere that I cleaned off of it when I went through it. So I'm just showing you guys we're being serious here when we mention this. We're not just trying to get hyped to sell military surplus firearms. None of us sell firearms for a living. But I'm just saying, if you want a sniper, you better hurry up and get one because they're good investment pieces. And here's the thing. So I made that video 6 years ago. Mosins are 3 times more than they are now for an entry-level Mosin. Is my 401k worth 3 times more than it was 6 years ago? Absolutely not. I should have been taking money and buying guns so I could resell now because I'd be making more money than I was with my moderate risk investments that I'm doing on my retirement.
That's exactly how I defeat the whole finance your firearm argument. Whether you go through the finance on the website or at the big gun store or with your credit card, or you borrow money from a loan shark, unless it is a dime a dozen AR-15, if it's something like this, a mil surp, or it's something that eventually they stop making, you're going to get your money back that you paid in interest or fees or whatever, and then some. Unless you're planning on just buying and flipping, in which case you should be doing that with houses, not guns.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Oh, I agree totally, dude. I agree totally. So this is a CNR, which we can talk about briefly, where we've had curio and relic discussions before. We did a whole episode on it. You guys can, if you ever want to know if we've done an episode on something, just type in Caliber Corner space and then the topic, and there's a chance that we did an episode on it. So you guys can watch it if you want to. So here's another one. Starting bid $37.50 for a Mosin sniper, numbers matching. And here's the thing, though. I mean, man, this one you've really got to do some research because that could have been, you could have fake tapped the receiver and put a fake scope on it. So without seeing it in person, without having an expert with me on Mosins, I'd really have a hard time dropping nearly $4,000 on something that could be a fake. It would suck to find out it's a fake down the road. You can get bolts turned by companies on eBay and you could fake a sniper rifle. I mean, there are things you can look for, markings and numbers and so on. But part of the problem too is that there were so many of them, it's kind of hard to tell which one was and which one. And some of the ones that were sniper rifles, once they were taken out of service and arsenal refinished, they just took the scope off, they filled in the holes with some solder, and then they were just sent back out as infantry rifles. So you can find some snipers that have that might have been used as snipers, but had already been decommissioned as snipers and used as a standard infantry rifle. So I'm just saying, on the high end, you can drop $3,750 on a Mosin. And so at this point, we're just talking insanity when it comes to when it comes to gun prices. What was the other one? It's the M. What was I looking for? The 30. What's the M1 carbine? Is that what we're looking for here?
M1 carbine, yeah.
Yeah, I want to check. I'm just curious. What
and I'm not talking about a Rockola or one of the more rare ones. I'm talking about like a Winchester.
Well, let's just see what an M1 carbine is going to run you. So here's a rare IBM Corp U.S. Army M1 carbine World War II.
No,
for $5. Huh? What?
You're gonna so there were different manufacturers of Garands and carbines, and and 1911s, and some made less than others. So
the Winchester.
Yeah, Winchester's going to be your run of the mill. Now, this is your middle of the road.
$5,000 run of the mill.
Dang. Okay, now see, for that, I would say go ahead and buy the Reproduction, right? But they weren't costing that much a couple of years ago.
There's a Rockola for $5.
That's another thing too. If you don't know the history of the gun, you may not know that you have a very rare, valuable version of the gun, or you may think you have a rare, valuable version when you have the run of the mill. Same thing with bayonets. Different companies made bayonets, and you might get this bayonet for $30 and say, look at the markings, it must be blah blah blah. It's like, no, that was the company that made the most.
What do you think of this one, the 1943 USGA M1 Saginaw? Is this legit, real, vintage, or what are we talking? Is this a reproduction, or looks like it's got some CMP paperwork with it?
So the Saginaw division of General Motors, Eastern Aircraft Company, made guns. They still made guns after the war for the military. So they had the manufacturing capability to do it. So that's that's
$2,900. Buy now for $3,300. Would you buy it now for $3,300 if you had the money?
Not if a repro's going for under $2,000.
I guess if you want to buy it for the collector value, you're maybe going to sit on it and sell in 20 years. Then consider, yeah. Here you go, Squib. This is what Kingpin wants right here. Here's a nice gold AK-47 Zastava. Kingpin can set that up against his stacks of gold bullion that he's been sitting on for quite a while.
So the gold AK that I want is one of the ones that's solid gold with an ivory bolt from one of Saddam's palaces. That would be a great bring back.
Oh man. Oh, it's real quick. Thomas Reese says, I got an 1897 Springfield trapdoor in 4570. That was my grandfather's. Thought I'd shoot it if I got off my butt and got the reloading components to load safe black powder loads through it. And see, we're not even getting into the Wild West, the Old West guns and stuff. I mean, we've had those discussions before too, like talking about, old school revolvers and Wild West revolvers and lever guns and stuff like that. So yes, I just said lever gun. All right, and the last one that I have here is that's just going back to the Tokarevs. So that kind of puts us at kind of an ending point for what I have in the discussion. Ozzy Orsborn, Backwoods real quick says, I miss the sound of my dad's twin carb 1968 Barracuda. Yeah, as somebody that had a hot rod myself, I did the car show circle a lot because I had a buddy that he refinishes old pickup trucks. He rebuilds them and just holds on to them for a while, then he sells them or keeps them for a while. He's got 3 vintage pickup trucks. And so we would take him to car shows, and I'd take my Mustang. We'd sit next to each other, walk around and look at the cars. Just some of these cars are just absolutely beautiful. And some of the cars, like the prices seem insane until you see them in person. And you're just like, oh my God, this thing is beautiful. But then prices in cars have gotten insane themselves too. So it's just nuts what cars go for, especially if they've been remade or they've been through a body shop and been whatever you want to call it, refurbished and repainted and so on. My brain's not working today, guys. Ozzy Orsborn says, I still want an 1851 Navy black powder. Could never afford an original. Thank goodness for you, Birdie.
You can get an 1851 for about $2,000. You might have to do a little bit of work to it. Might have a spring that needs to be replaced, or you might have a problem with the nipples. You might have to have those replaced because the originals aren't going to fit a modern cap.
Is there support out there if you need to get some heavy work done? And is there gunsmiths or companies that can do the work? There are. Okay.
There are.
Because I don't know if that was an old school craft, like working on old cars. Those mechanics are getting really old, and the new kids aren't. I mean, the new kids hopefully know because they took shop class. But I'm thinking, you start to go really old, or you get to send it off to some specialty shop, and it's going to cost you a ton of money to get it running.
I almost came back from Nevada last month with a real 1851 Navy. So
that would have been nice at Thunder on the Prairie to have some bring it back to the Prairie, Squib. Bring it back to where it was probably used.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Backwoods 1010 says, my dad just bought an M18 tanker in 308 3 weeks ago. He got a good deal, veteran discount, and got a credit card through Sportsman's Warehouse. He paid $1,800 out the door, but they go for $2,300. Yeah, I think it's Sportsman's Warehouse or Sportsman's Outdoors, whatever it's called in Grand Island. It's a small chain. They've got some really good prices on guns. And like I said, for Central Nebraska, you don't always get a lot of gun options. There's some stores, but we don't have, like some of the things like you have down in Texas. I'm just totally drawing a blank today, but some of these bigger, more popular chains, we just don't have them, So to get good gun stores can be really rare. Let's see. Like in the town that I lived in, if you wanted firearms, you had two options. You could go to SS Pawn or you could go to Walmart, and that was it for firearms. You can only buy ammo in 3 locations in town. If you didn't have it, you had to go make an 80-mile round trip to go to Kearney, or you had to order it online and spend $20 for shipping, or load it yourself. Which is, thank you, Squid, for getting me into that. I'm just seeing if there's anything out here. Backwoods 1010 says Saginaw, Michigan.
So the Saginaw division of General Motors. Okay, so it's the Saginaw division, yeah. Eastern Aircraft Company, Inland. They made firearms for the government. To give you an example, the machine guns we loaded on the helicopters or cruise surf weapons, they were made by General Motors. They weren't made by Colt or General Dynamics or whoever the heck is making XM218 machine guns. So even into the 60s and 70s, and that's not just for guns either. Like Ford used to make Sidewinder missiles, things like that. So
yeah. Single Shot, you want to chime in on any of this insanity that we're talking about right now? Kind of the craziness of surplus gun prices and whether you should go surplus or go new.
Yeah. I had a phone call. I don't know if you guys heard me when
No, I didn't hear you. I just saw you disappear. I actually called on you. I was like, oh crap, he's gone. So I don't know if you lost signal or not. So
no, I just had my sister called there, so I was talking to her for a few minutes. I got a good deal on a K31 there, 7.5 by 55 here, just about a month ago now, and I'm getting rather excited to get that on the bench and see what we're going to be able to do with that. Not a bad price. It was sporterized. They removed a couple pieces, but they weren't, it didn't look like a hack job. We'll put it that way. They did a pretty good job, and they did a beautiful hand checkering job on the stock after they got it done. So I proceeded to order some brass for it and a set of dies. So we've got the opportunity to reload some ammunition for it.
Cool.
And it's 308 caliber, so we're going to utilize a few different style bullet weights there. Optimal, I guess, for that is I think it's either a 160 or 165. So I got a couple of boxes of ammo that was put up by PPU, and I picked up those. So we'll have that on the bench here sometime in the near future. I hope things are starting to settle down a little bit. I had a real busy day yesterday, super busy, a lot going on. So hopefully we can get some more time there to put in the videos. So we'll definitely be working on that. Over the last 3 weeks, I've accrued 2 strikes on the channel.
Oh, that's the other thing. If any of us disappear, you can find us over on Rumble. Pretty much you're Dave.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm Travis P11 over on Rumble. My videos get ported over there. They get uploaded over there. I'm also on Odyssey, which I get a really good reception on also, Travis P11. So if I disappear here, you can. I don't know what the live streaming situation is going to be like on those other platforms. I know you can through Rumble and stuff, but that's where you can find a lot of us. I do have a B channel here on YouTube called Coffee, Computers, and More. And what I'd probably do if my channel gets taken down at some point, I would just upload any of my none gun content. I would just go back and re-upload that on my B channel, and just because I've got hundreds and hundreds of videos that are not guns and ammo related that I could post, or I could restart my gun channel, but I really don't feel like doing that because I put 6 years of my life, no, 7 or 8 years of my life into where we're sitting right now, and I'm not gonna go back and re-upload 1,500 videos. That ain't gonna happen. I would just go back and upload the ones that would work. So I wouldn't redo a gun channel on YouTube. I wouldn't. Even if I got demonetized, I'd still make content for you guys. I'd still make gun content for you guys. But if I get taken down, I'm not going to restart a gun channel. Not the way it's going. They want us gone. They're making it evident they want us gone. And so you can say, well, you just got to follow the rules. The rules are getting ridiculous, and guys are getting strikes for no reason. But again, discussion for another day.
All right, man. Those rules are biased, and they're discriminative anyway. So.
All right, so I'm going to take 1 minute since I work in the public school industry. Vern, I want to jump on my soapbox for a second. Many of the public schools, public high schools in Nebraska, they offer a traditional woodshop class. They offer construction. They offer welding. They offer automotive repair. They have nursing programs that are paired up with local clinics to get kids time in the classroom and also out in the field. The school that I was at, and I'm not there anymore, so I'll just mention it. I was with Lexington Public Schools in Lexington, Nebraska. Fantastic school district. They offered an entire 2-year auto shop class you could take. And when you were done, you were basically ready to go off to a dealership or a mechanic and start your trade. Construction classes, welding classes. I don't know about the rest of the world, but Nebraska still has it when it comes to public schools. They do a really good job. And those kids can still pursue those passions. Small engine repair, welding. Yeah, it's still out there, dude. You don't hear about it because nobody wants to talk about what good happens in public schools. It's easier just to talk about the pushing of trash curriculum and pedophiles, which is probably 1% of the extreme cases out there in the public school world, just like any industry. So that's my defense. I'm off my soapbox. Real quick, 500 Magnum says, how is constitutional carry looking for y'all in Nebraska? Good. I don't want to make any comments on information I might have heard, but it's looking solid. We've got a lot of representatives on board. We're hoping it can happen. We need Nebraskans to keep communicating information to their representatives that this is something that needs to happen. They had a really good sit-down meeting with, I think, an original committee to vote on it to get it to go to the next level. I don't know if that vote's happened yet, but there was a great question and answer session. Nebraska is a weird state. We have some conservative leanings, but we're also very moderate on others. It's like, I'm conservative, you're not, but we can find a happy medium to operate on together. That's kind of how Nebraskans are. So like a lot of people aren't opposed to concealed carry with a license, but they are opposed to open carry, which it doesn't make sense. It's a piece of clothing. They seem to think the laws just go out the window when you let people conceal carry. No, there's actually more laws you don't have to follow if you conceal carry. There's places you can't conceal carry. There's punishment that happens to you if you do. There's, notification messages if you get pulled over by the police. So when it comes, there's a lot more responsibility. You got to be a heck of a lot more responsible as a licensed concealed carrier in Nebraska than you do to be a criminal. To be a criminal, you just don't have to care. To be a concealed carrier, you have to go lock your gun up when you go into the post office. You can't park in the post office parking lot. Can't carry at work, can't carry in hospitals. So does a criminal know that? They don't care. They're criminals. They're criminals by nature, by definition. So
I'd like to chime in on that a little bit,
do it, man.
Not just for Nebraska, but for other places.
Yeah.
If you live in a state that went from may issue, which means not issue, to shall issue, and you're trying to go from shall issue to constitutional carry, whether you have open carry or not as part of your existing state laws, there's an elitist group of pro Second Amendment people who got their concealed carry permit once the laws changed, or they're very proud of the hard work that they did to try to get the state to shall issue. And I know that's kind of ancient history in some places because it's been that way for 20 years or more in some states, that they're so set in their ways. They're adamant about not going to constitutional carry because then that downplays all the work they did to get shall issue. Then that downplays the whole, concealed carry is better than open carry thing. Oh, you're going to scare people. Oh, you're the first victim, or you're the first target, whatever. It also kind of takes away because of all of the concealed carry courses that are out there. Any one of us on this panel can just put a sign out in the front yard, say concealed carry class is $100 and teach them. And there's no regulation on this crap. Okay. So you're talking about a lot of instructors suddenly, aren't needed anymore, or they're going to have to do things like offer other kinds of classes to draw in people. They're not in support of this. So there's a lot of pushback within our own culture about constitutional carry when it comes to the open carry portion, because people have their own beliefs about it. And to some extent, I get that. Okay. I'm old fashioned in a lot of ways so I get the old stubbornness and things, but there's a time and a place for that for tradition and stubbornness and values. And there's a time and a place to say, you know, we can meld the two together, or these don't necessarily have to clash. Open carry doesn't have to clash with concealed carry. But I think one of the biggest issues for the culture as a whole is the elitists, or the people who are profiteering off of the concealed carry only mentality.
No, dude, and I agree totally. I agree completely. I mean, that's just it. Is, and everybody has their own feelings about it and stuff. And I just think that people need to understand that. Yeah, now it means that people. It doesn't mean you're not going to still have to go through background checks to buy guns, or you still don't have to follow the law to buy firearms. I mean, it just means that now, if I don't have a carry permit, if I want to put my winter coat on in Nebraska, which I need 6 months out of the year, I don't have to worry about going to jail if I do it just to go in and pay for my gas and my firearms covered up. You know, so
one
it's just
point that I'd like.
Yeah, go ahead, dude.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm done. I'm just gonna start firing
everybody, I hear this crap all the time, which is, it's no more than crap, because they always say, well, we're gonna have states turn into the Wild Wild West. People, before you even consider saying that, I challenge you to look online and look at these states' crime rates. They're a heck of a lot lower.
Hey, I've seen manipulated statistics that make it look like gun violence goes up when a place adopts constitutional carry. Depends on how they define gun violence. Do they consider loss of a human life by firearm through self-defense gun violence? Because they may. You know, do they consider the what is it? What are we talking about here? Are we, you can make data say whatever. I just looking at myself working with data for you. You can make it say whatever you want. If you know what you're doing, you can skew it in a way that will fool people. So I just think that if somebody you can ask any criminal, would you go mug a person if there's a potential that they're going to be armed? If you know that every person is armed, are you still going to go try to mug somebody? Even that little grandma with that little bump on her hip, you going to try to go mug her? No. I mean, criminals, I've seen interviews of criminals before, and they say, I'm not going to go into some place where I know there's people with guns. I'm going to go to places where people are disarmed. It's easy. It's easy money. Why would I do that? Or if they are going to go into some place where they're going to be armed, they're going to take a heck of a lot more than just one person with them if they're going to do it. That's when you see multiple, attackers on home invasions. So, we can talk data for another day. I don't know how we got away from surplus firearms. There's one thing I do want to share with New York Outcast. He was saying that maybe he's not all about buying the surplus guns, but he's all about this. Apparently he wants a gold toilet. So Outcast, we have lots of options for you. Starting at the low price of $24.99, you too can have a nice gold-plated throne. I mean, who wouldn't want to enjoy that in the mornings as you're scouring gun.deals for tourist discounts? I'm telling you, there you go. So gold toilets, Outcast, gold toilets. That'll be next week's discussion. From royaltoiletry.com. People will buy. People will buy. I mean, I heard I'm not going to say there's a quote.
Travis, are you going to do a review video?
Oh, I would love to. Give me a gold throne and I'll make it happen. We'll talk about the ergonomics of it. We'll talk about the overall feel and usability. How is it when you flush it, the noise factor?
Position the camera on the floor, you just see 2 feet.
The quality of the components, internally. Is it going to allow? What kind of a warranty does it have? Does it take Glock mags? Does it take Glock turds? I don't know. I mean, that's the big question that we have to ask. So, gold toilets next week on Caliber Corner. Tune in. Oh God. All right. So what does Defense Dad say? Just don't carry a Sky. You're better than that. Yeah, I was sold on some big YouTube channels on the Sky CPX2, thinking it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it was the greatest thing since trash. So let's just get that out there right now. What else we got out there? Outcast says, nice. Defense Dad, gold toilet would be good. It's already yellow. Camouflage. There you go. Ooh, camouflage toilet. They already do camouflage recliners. I think we need to do camouflage appliances, like a mossy oak Realtree wrapped fridge and an oven and like an oven hood that goes over the top of it. Hey, Squib, made out of bamboo.
Oh yeah, because that's
the wood oven hood. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Anywho, oh God. All right, we're gonna go and wrap it up, guys. We've had a lot of fun. It's been 90 minutes. We've had a fun, wonderful, lively discussion on, is it a good time to go milsurp still? Is it better to go elsewhere? Little shout out to We Sustain GmbH. Guten Tag, good sir. Good to see you joining in today. I looked you up over on YouTube, and you have something to do with software development. So thank you for stumbling upon our podcast. We're just some good freedom-loving Americans that are out here having a discussion about how mad we are that we missed out on the opportunity to buy good military-grade weapons at low prices. So anywho, New York Outcast, mic drop comment of the day. I've used bamboo toilet paper. It wasn't bad. I don't know. The sliver possibility kind of scares me away. So
Yeah.
I'll pay to not see Travis on the throne. Well, I would show myself on the throne. I would just bring you the tabletop review. We do the unboxing, the overview, the toilet test. You know, we'd see what it could really handle. You know, I would definitely give it to Travis. Look, man, if I can review a linoleum countertop, I can review anything, man.
next on Coffee, Computers, and More. Y'all got to come in here and take a look at this.
I'm going to put a little comment on the private chat. Let me just say something real quick here.
You have to put the disclaimer at the beginning of the video and say, please, anyone who visits my house, stop stealing the lid to my toilet. It's
exactly.
If the lid to your toilet's going to get stolen every time somebody comes over.
Yes, exactly. That's the problem. Is you're gonna have to bolt it down. You're gonna have to get like a secure kit for it, so nobody runs off with your toilet during house parties. All right, guys.
As somebody who's made a lot of toilet videos, I can tell you'll get a lot of trolls.
Oh yes. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. They're like, what? Wait till they find out that if you don't hurry up and sign the petition, they're gonna start water restricting our toilets. Remember, they had the open letter on the shower heads, because the shower heads are now being restricted to 1.2 gallons per minute, like across the board. It was going to be like if you did any kind of remodeling in houses, it had to be any remodeling after a certain date, it had to be like a 1.2 gallon or less restricted shower head. They had an open letter on that, like the EPA, where you could write in and let them know how you felt about the fact that you can't use that 2 gallon per minute shower head anymore. So they always want to take the fun away. And I'm sure that those people living in their palaces don't have that. They'll probably don't have more than one shower head, or, you know. Okay, gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and call it. So Squibload, we're going to let you go ahead and give us some final comments, and we'll just go clockwise. Go ahead, Squibby.
Always like talking Milsurp. Like I said in the beginning, they're not for everybody, but I'm the guy that has them because I like the history. I enjoy shooting them, and I like collecting everything that goes with them and learning more about them. But I'm in it for the history, so I look at it differently than other people. So I'm glad that you allowed me on with my perspective today.
Right on, bro. Good to have you here. And we've got a what if episode we're gonna have next week. I don't know if anybody's gonna watch it or gonna want to watch it, but I think it's gonna be a fun discussion. So I'll post the topic for it later on this week. I don't know if it was you, Squib, or if it was maybe Chris from the 740.
It was Foose. You always get us mixed up, and I don't know why.
Foose. I don't know. I couldn't remember who told me.
We need to do a video at Thunder on the Prairie where you call him Squib.
No, you need a sticker that says "Hello, my name is Squib," and then "Hello, my name is Foose." And put on your hat, so that I can see your sticker, so I know who you are.
I'll get the stickers. We'll make a short.
No. Dude, it's just been a crazy week. So, all right, Kingpin, anything you want to say before we go?
No, thanks for having me.
Farida says, Bourne's not planning on buying any guns for a while. That's what you think. Wait till you start scouring the Mosin Nagants. Farida, is it Icelandic or Finnish? I would get it. I mean, a Finland captured Mosin Nagant would be close to something that you'd have from your homeland. So, something to think about there. Faridi, I'm not sure where you're from. I thought maybe Bjorn was from Iceland, but I could be wrong. So, let's see. All right. And also, single shot. Anything you want to say before we go?
Well, I really appreciated the topic today as well, Travis, because I'm into the older firearms, Milsurps. I've got a few. I got a few rifles and a few handguns, but I'm always looking to add a few of those into my collection. And I enjoy shooting them. My Moss 4956. I've got to get that on the bench and put some rounds through it again.
What's the ammo availability for that? Is that PPU? Is it out there?
PPU and Starline.
No, okay.
Makes the brass for it. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, that's also a 308 caliber, so it's easy to get bullets for it. So.
Yeah, I was looking at it. You can get a nice one for under $1,000. I don't know if that's a good price or not. I would say it is nowadays because you're not really seeing a lot of those around. I see way less of those than I see a lot of other military surplus, even U.S. surplus guns. So yeah.
Now, they're heavy.
Oh.
Keep an eye on the channel. The channels, both of them, and hopefully we'll see some more additions on there. If I don't get any more strikes from YouTube, good grief. Oh well.
I haven't got one yet.
Take care.
I'm not.
Everybody.
Nothing. I'm not gonna. If something happens, obviously I'll let you guys know. I'm expecting it every day. Every day that my channel's not taken down is a blessing. so people can enjoy my content. I'm not surprised I haven't been. I don't do hard. I would say I've got very rare content of me inserting a 30-round mag. That's the one thing that everybody seems to be getting hit with, or attaching a suppressor. I will say this, CloverTac did an awesome video about being a gun tuber now. Like, what are the basic rules you need to think about when you do these videos and trying to monetize, and links and optics, and what's allowed and what's not allowed. And again, it's obvious. It's obvious that the people that work at YouTube, I don't understand why they don't just, well, it's because of advertising revenue. You know, they don't want their advertisers to put the pressure on them to show videos.
Yeah.
Even though I'd say our gun content, what did I hear? The top 100 YouTube channels, out of the top 100 YouTube channels that are out there worldwide, the gun channels, the top gun channels aren't even in the top 100. We're like 1% of watch content on YouTube, and we're 99% of the problem apparently. But I mean, yeah, there's game channels that get nailed for copyright strikes, and there's whatever, you know, it seems like everybody, if it's not being curated the way that YouTube wants it, it's their sandbox and it's their rules. If you don't want to play in it, go find another playground. That's all I'm going to say. And if I get taken down, am I going to be bitter? No, because I'm working in this platform knowing that that is a possibility. There's no guarantees in life except for death and taxes.
Oh yeah.
And Mosin prices will continue to rise. That's the other that's the other guarantee in life.
Yeah, that is a big guarantee.
That's the third one to start adding now. Life, death, taxes, or what? Death and taxes, and Mosin prices continue to rise. So
that should
anyway,
really be the culmination of all of it. If you're interested, if you've got on your mind that you want to buy something, either go or get off the golden toilet, because you're watching the prices go up every year. They're not going to go back down. Take that fantasy out of your head. Go ahead and bite the bullet and pay overly priced prices now, because it's just going to get worse.
Just put it on your credit card.
That's what I did last night when I bought that. So real quick, if you didn't hear me initially at the beginning of the show, I'm going to be bringing you several videos because I got to get some revenue back from what I've spent. A High Point JXP10 handgun. I got that coming. I'm going to pick that up soon. That was not very expensive, but it was a rare opportunity to get one thanks to Defense Dad, who found it for me on Google. Did a Google search and found it for me, so I was able to buy it and get it locally, close enough locally. I also bought the Beretta A300 Ultimate Patrol with Tiger Stripe finish, which sold out in 1 hour. After I got the email notification, I immediately ran to the computer, got out the credit card and bought it. Now I'm going to pay it off, but I also like those sweet, sweet Shields points. That's going to get me a $50 gift card now. So why not? Yeah, that's going to be coming to the channel. We'll do an unboxing. We're going to do a cleaning video because I know the High Point, the Beretta, they do say, and I was reading the manual last night for it. I got the digital download. They say that you do need to clean it before the first range trip because it's got manufacturing oil in it, not gun oil. So you do need to go through and give it a thorough cleaning. So we'll do a cleaning video on it. It looks a little technical, but I don't think it's going to be too hard. And then we'll take it out and shoot it at the range. We'll try some different shot through it and see what it's rated at and see what it cycles and what it does to cycle and so on. So you're expecting at least 3 videos, if not 4, from each of those guns that'll be coming up. It's not going to be anytime soon because I haven't picked them up yet, but that's going to be coming to the channel. I'm pretty excited. I mean, I wanted a tactical shotgun, a good quality tactical shotgun. Those are American made, by the way, in Tennessee, although Beretta's an Italian company. But I've got that Chinese AK pattern shotgun, which is fine, but I want a good, just kind of duty grade semi-automatic tactical shotgun to have in my collection because I don't have one. And so I've got that, and then I want one more lever gun, and then I can finally be happy. So that's pretty much what I'm looking at right now. So maybe I'll stop making content after I get the Marlin 336. That'll be the be it all, end it all of my video. Get the new Marlin and end the channel there. So nah, I take that back. I'm addicted to CLP. I'll never quit cleaning guns. So
just my advice, Travis, is you got to title all your videos in all uppercase letters, like dark bold print with a lot of exclamation points, and you got to put in something like "YouTube is after me" or
no, you're a felon. We're all felons now. We're all felons now. I'm gonna put that in there and never actually mention it in the video. I'm just gonna say we're all felons now. Clean your Mosin.
Yeah, you definitely got to have some super dramatic titles and some clickbait, like you in handcuffs with Joe Biden stepping on your face or something like that.
The ATF's coming after you for your military grade firearm that's now being banned, even though you've had it for 50 years and it's been imported. And it was 922R
compliant
because it's seen combat experience. It causes trauma in people at the range. It's like, oh my God, what's next? I don't know what I'm going to do about the whole pistol thing. I mean, I'm hoping that stuff gets struck down. Luckily, with my AKV, I can take off the buffer tube if I have to, and it'll still function just fine because it's piston driven. It's blowback piston, whatever you want to call it. It's blowback basically, my AKV. But it just have a mock piston that balances out the bolt carrier group. And I'm going to put just like a Picatinny adapter on the back of it so I can put a single point sling on it and just kind of use it as a pistol and play with it if that happens. I don't know what I'm going to do about my braces. I mean, I can't lie and say I don't have them. Their videos are out there. So, I mean, I can't say, oh, I don't have one. I can say I don't have them anymore, boating accident or melting them, right? So we'll see what happens with that. Again, a discussion for a different time. So let's give a little shout out over there to the YouTube side. So we had Squibbload out there, and we got Bjorn out there. He's got a 1929 X Mosin Bjorn. That is freaking awesome. I love that gun. So much fun to shoot. New York Outcast is out there. Air Gun 1776, 500 Magnum Defense Dad Feride. Tommy Gunn. Who else is watching? Woods is with us. We Sustain Germany's out there also. Thomas Rees in the house. Let's see. R4 Mississippi Thunder is joining us this morning. Good morning, sir. I saw you out there in the crowd today. Kingpin's with us and over there. MCK in the house. Let's see who else is watching today. I did see some tacos and French fries. RDN is out there watching. Tony York's joining in. Forgot it was Saturday. I know, right? Tara Smith's Kitchen's in the house. Tara Smith, the weather's going to be beautiful in case you didn't hear my reply. Didn't see my reply. Upper 40s, pure sunshine in central Nebraska. You're going to be good to go. No crappy weather till Tuesday. Backwoods 1010 in the his house. Yes, I just said his house. Who else is with us there? Loaded tater tots. Oh my God, that sounds so good. Tater tots with some brisket on them and some nacho cheese. Oh my God, that's a Saturday right there. That is Redneck Saturday, right? That's Redneck Saturday lunch right there, people. Go put some cheese sticks in the air fryer. Yeah, crack open a nice can of Shasta. Let's see, Gunmetal Guy USA in the house. I'm out there apparently. Tactical Fuds in the house. Hunting and stuff with J&J. And Watt 75. I know M. Gabriel was there earlier. A Mountain View shout out to you guys. Guns and Barbecue in the house. If I missed anybody, apologies. Kevin Jung, definitely with us today also. Ozzy Orsborn, Kristen 740. Good crowd, good crowd. It was a fun discussion. It was just kind of interesting putting two and two together, you know, Milsurp versus modern production. And we'll see if my predictions are right, if we don't see more of these production vintage rifles coming out, because there is a market for it. And manufacturers need to understand that. And a lot of times I don't think they're gun enthusiasts to know what people want. You put the pulse on it. If I put a thing up there that said, you know, would you buy a modern production of a Milsurp rifle? If you could, if the price was right, I think everybody would say yes, as long as the ammo's available. So anyway, so on behalf of Kingpin and Single Shot and Squibbload, myself, Travis B11, make sure you guys watch for more content coming out this week. And I want you guys to have fun. I want you to be safe. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Be watching for that video on the logo choice for the Thunder on the Prairie 2023 YouTuber Gun Day event. That's going to happen here soon. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care and have a good one.
Bye, Alicia.
Bye, Alicia.
Bye, Alicia.